Physical activity has been consistently shown to be associated with improved physical health, life satisfaction, cognitive functioning, and psychological well-being. Conversely, physical inactivity appears to be associated with the development of psychological disorders. This is from a paper in 2011 called Exercise for the Treatment of Depression and Anxiety by Carrick, Leibstein, and Carrick again. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hope Is Not a Plan podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Pennell. Today we're diving into what I've called Pillar 3, right? A powerful tool that can significantly boost your mental health and even combat addiction cravings, exercise. We all know exercise is good for our physical health, but research shows it's a superstar for our mental well-being. So, whether you're feeling stressed, anxious, or struggling with addiction, lace up your sneakers because we're about to explore how exercise can be your secret weapon. Welcome to the Hope Is Not a Plan podcast, where we address tough questions head on, face our problems, and highlight our hopes by providing actionable planning steps to improve ourselves, mind, body, and spirit. Now, let's get logged in and get locked on to this episode of the Hope Is Not a Plan podcast. So some main areas we're going to cover today in the positive effects of exercise are going to be depression and anxiety. There's a lot of folks out there who are in that space, have been in that space, maybe having a bout of just feeling depressed, not full-blown depression, or same thing with anxiety. And I think that's something to remember is you can be depressed and not have depression. You can be anxious at a moment and not have anxiety forever. I've seen a lot of folks online or talked to some folks and they're stuck in a cycle. And this is where I see this movement, this exercise as such a vital component of helping us get unstuck. So the first thing I want to touch on is the mood boosting effect of exercise focused on fighting depression, right? Studies have shown that exercise can be as effective as medication in treating mild to moderate depression. And here's a quote from Dr. Michael Craig Miller, who's an assistant professor of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School. Quote, in people who are depressed, neuroscientists have noticed that the hippocampus in the brain, the region that helps regulate mood, is smaller. Exercise supports nerve cell growth in the hippocampus, improving nerve cell connections, which helps relieve depression. Quote. Again, that's Dr. Michael Craig Miller, assistant professor of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School. But why does this happen? Well, exercise triggers endorphins. Those are those feel-good chemicals in your brain. They can come from a bunch of different things, and we'll touch on one area that's not so good that they come from in addiction. Plus, exercise helps regulate stress hormones like cortisol and promotes feelings of calmness and well-being. So right there, we've got something you can do with zero equipment, going for a walk, body weight exercises, yoga. There's probably a lot of other stuff I'm not thinking about that don't require a prescription, or they require that you prescribe yourself to be active. And we'll get into that in a second because it's hard to do when you're depressed, or when you're in a depressive mood, or overstressed, or anxious, or anything like that. So depression or depressive moods reduce our motivation. They disturb our sleep. They leave us more tired. And these and other symptoms of depression can form the perfect cocktail that leave us unmotivated to do anything, right? Let alone going for a walk, lifting weights, trying a yoga class. But we have to step. We have to from somewhere deep within us, remember our why. And here's some that have resonated with me and that maybe resonate with you. Why? So that I don't feel like this anymore. Why? So that I can rekindle my purpose. Why should I exercise? So that we can lose the weight that we put on by sitting around and eating snacks and junk. Why should I exercise? So I can reset my brain cycle of self-doubt because I keep telling myself I can't because I'm not in shape and I don't look like that other person. Why? So that we can truly live. And I want to share an exercise that's very helpful, that I found helpful, from David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, called The Accountability Mirror. And it's really basic. You grab some sticky notes, whatever color sticky note you'd like. And on those notes, write down reasons, a couple words, and tell yourself why you don't want to feel like this anymore. and what you want to accomplish. Then put them on your mirror and recite them to yourself when you see them. It's a very helpful exercise, and at some point, you won't have to just read those to yourself. They will truly be ingrained in your head. But you need to take the step. You need to step on the first day to start to get active, to start reducing that depressive mood. And then if you do it again the next day, and on, you'll start to develop a habit and you'll start to feel better. Now, exercise isn't the only solution. And if you are truly depressed and you can't break out of the cycle, then you should seek help. I hope this is helpful just for this part, but sometimes you need more than a guy on a microphone on a podcast. And I encourage you to reach out and get that help to help you take these first steps. Now let's talk about how exercise can help anxiety. And I just touched on the depression and how exercise can help it. So let's talk about anxiety, because often folks have a little bit of both or a lot of both. Maybe not forever, but at some point in their lives. So exercise can also significantly reduce anxiety symptoms. It can leave you feeling more positive overall. So at times our sympathetic nervous system, the one that activates our fight or flight, right, can get overclocked by stress and past trauma or any number of experiences from our past or present, or worrying about the future. So conversely, our parasympathetic nervous system exists to calm us down and return us to more normal state. This is where move a muscle, change a thought. And I believe I talked about this on how to get started with exercise in a previous episode. But this is where this concept came into the picture for me. I was looking for solutions. I was very anxious, having a lot of stress. And I found Emma McAdam, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist and the host of Therapy in a Nutshell. She has a YouTube channel and then some actual online courses. And I highly encourage you all to reach out to her, look at her courses. Again, Emma McAdam, I'll have this in the show notes as well. But the concept is, right, our bodies are built to relieve stress and release it. And she has a great example she talks about of a polar bear, right? It's been tranquilized by someone in helicopters, and they do their study and check its teeth and draw blood. And you've seen nature films. And then afterwards, when it's coming out of the anesthesia, it's shaky. Well, that's the body shaking off the stress. I mean, that bear was freaked out. And if you've ever had panic or been super overstressed, when you come down from it, you can get a little shaky and cold. And that's your body saying, hey, let's come back down. Let's bring ourselves back down. Right? So we have to move, though, to let that stuff out. And sometimes it's our choice and sometimes it's not. So I'm going to share an exercise that Emma McAdam shares, and this is from skill number 10, how to release trapped emotions. And this is from a course on how to manage and process emotions. And this one's called Shake It Off. Yes, just like the Taylor Swift song. Even maybe just play that song and do this. So in a full-blown stress response or after panic, right, our bodies shake. I mentioned that. And so you've probably seen this after, if you've ever watched like a World War I or war documentary movies, and you see that shell shock, that soldier shaking there. Same kind of thing, or maybe you faced it after that. So let's shake on purpose a little bit to relieve some stress, right? So right now, and again, this is Emma's Shake It Off exercise, hang your arms down by your side and just start kind of shaking them. Feels weird. You'll feel uncomfortable. If you can, of course, if you're not driving, stand up and shake your legs a little bit, right? Can you feel stress or anxiety going down? So now imagine you're feeling anxious and then you go for a walk. One, you're going to get outside and you're going to smell that air and you're going to get some nature, and then more movement, less catastrophizing. Because when we're anxious, we catastrophize, which means our minds get in a cycle of thinking this horrible thing's going to happen. Well, why didn't I do that thing? And on and cycle. And you need to move a muscle to let your mind focus on something other than just what's in your mind. Now we're going to do this daily, right? In some form, practice yoga. Yoga is a great way to reduce stress, build mobility, and it's a clinically proven way to release trauma. So now we're moving regularly, right? We're not just moving muscles and changing thoughts. We're developing healthier lifestyles than sitting around thinking of how bad things are and how we can't change and hoping for someone to come help you. Well, here I am to help. There you are to move, and together we can do this. So please look up Emma McAdam, Therapy in a Nutshell. Move a muscle, change a thought. Get shaken. Get movement. Release that anxiety. Reduce that depression. Those are two big areas, right? Because a lot of folks are either diagnosed with, feel like that they have depression or anxiety, and they feel like they're stuck in it. And I don't believe that. I believe we can help ourselves a lot. We can get help with it. Sometimes with medicine, sometimes not. Sometimes a combination, sometimes not. That's not for me to decide. It's for you to get help with. But exercise, no doubt, is a modality that should be in your toolbox, arsenal, bag of tricks, whatever you want to call it. So let's talk about exercise and addiction recovery. And this is quite a shift, but they're a powerful combination, right? So I recently watched, a couple days ago actually, a documentary called Small Town Strong. It's about the town of Portsmouth, Ohio, and its battle against the opioid addiction and how people in the town, right, industry there plummeted, and folks didn't have a lot of other stuff to do, but they had drugs to do, and they did them. And so we learn their stories, right? In the documentary, we learn about Dale King, who's an Army veteran and a Portsmouth native who started a CrossFit affiliate. And I've mentioned CrossFit. It's a great place to start online or in person to get some basics of weightlifting and movement and exercise. But so that Dale King started this so that through exercise, right, he developed kind of a rehab adjacent. It was part of a program also with counseling and other work that focuses on using those programmed workouts that you get in CrossFit to give addicts something positive to focus on, right? Again, we're going to get those endorphins from doing burpees or thrusters or pull-ups or something, some kind of movement instead of drugs, right? And there are amazing stories and unfortunately tragedies in the movie, but there's so many good lessons to be learned from them. Sometimes we could be living in a house and have heat and water and clothes and all the food we could eat and think we're stuck and we don't have any help and nobody can come help us. And then we watch something like Small Town Strong and we see folks that truly have no money, that grew up in horrible situations, and they turn it around largely through exercise and community, right? So you'll notice these pillars, these 7 pillars I've mentioned of balance, of ownership and mindfulness and movement and boundaries and connections and sleep and faith. They're all in Small Town Strong. The core of it is built around exercise. But what's clear throughout the movie and the testimonies from the addicts in recovery is that if you're struggling with cravings, exercise can be a valuable, seemingly invaluable tool in your recovery journey. And it can provide a new outlet instead of the pipe or the drink or the needle. And that's pretty amazing that a metal bar with some round rubber things on the end of it, or a bar that you hang on or put your feet on, and then being there with other people and suffering together can replace something that so dominated your life that it could have almost killed you, that it has killed your friends. Exercise is an unbelievably powerful tool. So exercise can reduce cravings, right? You get those endorphins, those feel-good chemicals, similar to the drugs. It's a stress reliever, right? So when you're in recovery, your stress is much higher. Like we talked about before, it's a natural stress reliever, and it helps you feel calmer and more in control. And when folks are in recovery, and you'll see in there, you don't feel like you're in control because you're craving. It boosts mood and confidence. And you see this in examples where folks, kind of you see a before and after. In the after picture, folks look so much better from working out, right? It can be tough on your mood when you're in recovery, and exercise, gosh, such a positive outlook when you start building muscles and you can now do the workouts, and now you're coordinating workouts. And I know I'm kind of spoiler alerting, or I should have spoiler alerted, but Small Town Strong is just so inspiring in what exercise can do when people come together and do that together. All right, so I think I've probably convinced you that exercise is awesome. And that doesn't mean it's perfect and that you're going to feel like doing it every day, even when you're in the habit of it. But maybe you're wondering what kind of exercise and how much. And I've talked about this on previous episodes, but the good news is small amounts can have significant benefits. Start manageable. 10-minute walk a few times a week. Right? We talked about that. We talked about doing body weight a couple times. Just start consistently, right? Regular exercise, short bursts, high intensity interval training, meaning go do 20 burpees if you've never done them and just see where you're at, something like that, or sprints, things like that. And some of these are, quote, more advanced, but that doesn't mean you can't try sprint or get into doing burpees right off the bat. But remember, the type and intensity exercise should be tailored to your individual needs, right, and preferences. So do you want to get stronger? Do you want to get fitter? When you're starting, though, it's good to just try things and feel them safely, right? If you don't know, ask someone at the club or ask somebody else. Ask me, right? hopesnotaplan.com. Ask me a question. I'm happy to give you some tips. These are my opinions based on my life experience. Again, they're not from anyone I used to work for or work for now. In the exercise world, they'll find something you enjoy, right? Dancing, swimming, hitting the gym, team sports. There is something out there for everyone, and you see it. And I see a lot of great posts lately. I follow a lot of fitness things, positive things on social media, and I see folks in their 70s deadlifting 200-300 pounds or doing a CrossFit workout. It's never too late, and it's never too early, and you're never too far gone. It's important to remember that exercise, while it's very powerful, right, may not be a cure-all for mental health conditions or addiction. It's often most effective when it's combined with something, right, with therapy, perhaps medication, support groups. Remember those 7 pillars that I talked about in episode 1? Along with exercise, be sure that you've taken ownership of where you are and where you want to go. Practice mindfulness and seek to process past and current emotions in a healthy manner. Keep going with the exercise. Set boundaries in your personal and professional life between you and things that don't serve you well. If you're around folks that are always negative, that aren't pulling you up, that aren't maybe giving you a pep talk, not just a pep talk, but like, no, you need to make a change, telling you and giving you the skills to do it. Or, like we talked about in recovery, you can't hang around the same people anymore. Make or recreate human connections. This is where that group exercise comes in, or class exercises in jiu-jitsu or yoga or spin or whatever, right? You're making connections with other people that are there to be better, mentally, physically, spiritually even. Focus on creating a calm sleep environment. If you exercise more and more often, you're going to be more tired in the evening, and that's a good thing. You'll still be tired after your workout. You'll feel good, but you'll sleep better. So now look at, am I getting off the screen an hour or two before bed? Am I turning the big lights down in the evening, right? Am I not eating after 7 or 8 p.m.? There's some good sleep hygiene tips that I've shared in the earlier episode, and we'll dive into that in future one. And do you have faith in something bigger than yourself? It doesn't have to be what I believe, what your neighbor believes, what you grew up believing, but something to help offload your burdens or to just appreciate. I mean, just look outside today. It's sunny, it's windy, but it's amazing. I see the sun, I see the trees, I smell the air, I feel the cold air hitting my face. That's way beyond me, right? That's this whole world. So there you have it, everybody. Exercise is a fantastic tool for boosting your mental health and even aiding in addiction recovery. So please remember, good listener, while hope is not a plan, incorporating regular exercise into your routine can be a powerful step towards a brighter future. If you are struggling with mental health or addiction, please reach out for help. You are not alone. There are resources and support groups that can provide invaluable guidance. As always, you can find links, resources, and info at the website hopesnotaplan.com, hopesnotaplan.com. Of course, we're on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. The Hope Is Not a Plan podcast is there. Please subscribe, leave a review. That'd be super helpful. And let me know what you think. Stay safe out there, everybody. Wash those hands. And Godspeed, y'all.